Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the recovery addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
Got the wrong guy, and the dog was biting him.
He roughing him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit. There's a lawsuit.
All right. I think this is going to work today. I'm really hoping this is working. Oh, man. I think it's working. Of course, that's what I said every other time, but it didn't. Let's turn this down just a little bit. Let's see. I think hopefully you can hear me. Maybe so far so good. I just want to take a moment. Creative B, so glad you're back. Creative B, I've got to say, I went to the post office today and got this absolutely, let me switch it out here. I got this absolutely amazing delivery from Creative B with just the most beautiful YouTube icon with pickles and a throwing gavel. And it says, Recovery Addict, congratulations for surpassing 5,000 subscribers. It's my first YouTube plaque, and I must admit, even if I get many more, this will always be my favorite. Creative B, Debbie, you did an absolutely fantastic job on this. This is incredible. It's amazing. She hasn't asked for this, and she doesn't know I'm going to do this, but she has a shop that she makes these. I believe she sells these and earns money doing it, and you can see why. If you have any need for something similar to this, or something that maybe she can use her expertise on to help you out, please go check it out. She's on Etsy. I've got a post on my YouTube at a community page that has a link to her, or at least has a picture from her shop, but it's let's see, etsy.com/shop/thecreativeb. So I've got it on the back here, and I'm not going to forget. So thank you so much. I need to find out a way to get it hung in the courtroom behind me, especially because it's a virtual courtroom, but we'll get that figured out. And Debbie, that touched my heart. It is so neat. Thank you very much for that. That being said, we're back, sort of. We've gone almost full circle, and not sure if you can see, but this phone right over here, that's how we're on the internet. All the internet cables we've run, all the work they've done there, it's not working. So we're going to stream through the phone for as long as AT&T will allow me to stream unlimited on that. Can you make a hot button for Creative B? I can do that. Yes. Let me actually, Creative B, if you want to hold on for just 1 minute. I want to give you temporary mod privileges, because I'd love it if you could, hang on just 1 second, add moderator. Let's see, I think that worked. I'd love it if you could put a link to your Etsy shop in chat. I think you have to be a moderator to do that. Let's see here. Yeah, you should be able to do that now. I will say that, Thal, welcome. Thanks for becoming a member. Welcome to the gallery. Good to have you here. Appreciate you being here and becoming a subscriber. Please take your seat on the front row. We are excited. Today is the Murdaugh trial. We thought it was going to take the rest of the week just to see the jury, but they managed to pull it out. They pulled it together and got a bunch of people who believe that they can listen to this case impartially and can listen and be a fair juror and move forward. So they've got both the 12 jury members as well as the alternates. Creatively, all you have to do is just go to your webpage, like as if you don't log in, but go to the webpage as if you're a user. So maybe a different browser, and copy the the address and just paste it right there in chat. Holy cow. Thal just gifted 20 memberships. I'm not sure if we have 20 non-members in the chat. The next few non-members who come in are going to be winners, I think. Thal, Mandy Hart, Banjo Jones, Candy Nanini, Tony Tries, DW, Illinois Mama, holy cow, Avery Myers, Ray Quinn, Jill Hippie, Summer D, Danny Austin, Nems Girl, Peachy Math Gal, Sandy, this is just going and going, Claire Chen, Nana of 5, Cat's Hodgepodgery, Grumpy Cat, Graham Finlayson Fife, One Man's View. I think that's it. I think I got everybody. Congratulations on becoming a new member, all of you, if I've read your name. Thanks to Thal. And Thal, thank you so much for gifting 20 memberships.
There's a lawsuit.
Incredibly generous. We're hoping to have just a great live stream. Oh, I just got mail today. Thank you, bud. Love you. Bye. Got a mail delivery randomly right to my desk while we're live. Wonderful. My kids are great. We'll put that over there. Hopefully there's no bills because I'll forget about it. But thank you very much, Thal, and please take your seat. Yes, you are amazing. Oh, it helps if I can put your words up here. Sorry, and I missed here. 1 second. I got Thal here, but it wasn't showing up on the screen. So Thal became a member and promptly gifted 20 more memberships. So congratulations to all of you, and thank you, Thal, for that generous donation. Here's where we are today. First of all, I think I missed it, but AJ, you, if I can get all the way up to the top, is it? Ooh, no, I can't. Let's see. I'll find another one. I know you're in here. AJ. I saw you. Okay. This isn't your first chat, but you were first in chat. And being first in chat comes with its rewards. And today's a rough day for it. But AJ, thank you for being first in chat. We're going to re-gift the internet and make it yours. So everything IP related is now squarely in your domain. Please take care of it and have fun with it until we need it again, because we'll re-gift it again when we go live next time. So thank you, AJ. You've done this before. I appreciate you. You've been a wonderful friend of the program from pretty much day one, AJ. So I know you're between jobs right now. Hopefully that's not the case for long, and wherever job you land on is going to allow you to still come and join us. So tell them it's a requirement that you have to be able to watch. All right. Let's see. Where are we at? Congratulations on your plaque. And Sharon, I love it. It is beautiful. I could not imagine a better plaque. You can't tell very well on the picture, but each of the elements of the picture, or helps if I'm on full screen, huh? Each of the elements of the picture, they like float, and so they've got like this little, like a 3D effect. They're at different heights, and it's sparkly and fantastic, and it looks amazing. I think YouTube should be reaching out to Creative Bee for all their plaques, because these are better than what they send. Awesome. All right, let's see. I'll try to make a hot button. Was Creative Bee? Did we get it posted here? Let's see. I want to make sure Creative Bee got a link up there so you guys can check out her Etsy page. There it is. Perfect. All right, that is it. You might have to copy and paste it because it's not a clickable link in there. I'm not sure why. Sometimes it goes clickable and sometimes not. But that will get you to the shop, and please show her some love. She's absolutely fantastic. Let's see. Turns some of the sounds off so they don't interrupt while we're watching proceedings. Okay, yes, I do. I only keep just the bare minimum on. During the proceedings, there are other times where we'll release the hounds when it comes to sounds and let you really just play. Mostly when it's just like us talking, when there's not a big court case to follow. I love that you guys can do that. It's a way you can contact me and like interact with the stream in almost in real time. I will say today, as part of trying to make sure that there's not any buffering, we have the longest delay possible. So I apologize for what that does to our conversation a little bit, because I'll ask a question and you won't hear it for like 30 seconds, and then you'll respond, and then I won't. It stretches things out a little bit. So please be patient with me if you do ask a question and you're not getting a response. That's probably why. But let's see where we are right now. I was looking at all the feeds available. I think WLTX is one that I'm going to try today. If anyone has a different feed other than the Lawless and Crimeful feed, let me know if there's a good one out there we should watch. But so what sorcery is this? Were we live, Chandra? Yes, we are. This doesn't feel right. RA back with us in chat. I felt lost the last couple of days, Sharon. I felt lost as well. This is good. I'm hoping this continues. I just checked and made sure that my phone was charging while it's streaming, and it is, so the battery will not be an issue. Let's see. We're talking to our recovery addict from the future, and he's talking to us from the past. Yes, that's pretty much how it goes. There's a little bit of a disconnect, but it does come full circle. Debbie, thank you very much. All right, so today we have a new case. We have a case for those of you that have not been following the Alex Murdaugh trial. This has been years in the making, and if you were in South Carolina, I believe they call it the Low Country, there are very few people who have not heard of the Murdaughs. The family has been very well known. It's a very wealthy, very influential family that has been, in political circles, in legal circles for generations. It's like 3 generations of lawyers, of very well-respected lawyers in this family, resulting in this Alex Murdaugh. Let's see, what was Alex given for Senate? You're talking about the Alexander. He just was found guilty. The sentencing is going to be in March on that one, Roxanne. The judge is going to handle that. It's worst it can be is life without parole, but it could be less than that as well. I don't think they had a minimum mandatory sentence for that one. If the minimum mandatory was life in prison without parole, they would have issued it right then, and that wasn't the case. It's great to be back, John. We're hoping we stay for a while. We'll see how long the phone will hold out. Anyway, so this case is crazy because the defendant in this case, first of all, he's accused of murdering his wife and his son. That's bad. But he's also accused of like 100 and some odd financial crimes, frauds, embezzlements, thefts by deception, just plain, stealing money, basically, and to the tune of millions of dollars. And when you start looking at this and digging through this, you're like, hang on, there's all these news stories with Alex Murdaugh. What, he was shot in the head? Yes, he was. Why? He tried to kill him. He tried to have himself killed by a hitman so that his family would get insurance money. Well, the hitman did everything except for aim well enough. And so instead he just got injured and lived. And now his family is dead, and he's got a son who was responsible for someone else's death. And just there's deaths all over the place. There's an unexplained murder that happened like on his street. That there's like they're wondering if there's a connection there. His housemaid fell down the stairs and died. Right. That sounds unfortunate. In the same house that the two were murdered in, right? She fell down the stairs and died, and then he somehow ended up representing the estate in a wrongful death suit. Tell me if this just seems bizarre. I still can't understand why this is not some sort of conflict of interest. But he represented the state in a wrongful death suit, and they won, a sizable settlement, which he kept and did not give to the family. And so then he got sued by somebody else who is going to be a potential witness in this case and to recover money for the family. And it's just, it gets so twisted. There are so many parts to this and so many pieces that are moving that I won't blame you at all if your head is spinning after the opening statements. I'm hoping that the prosecution can come out and just clearly and articulately just paint the picture for those of us that just want the perspective on everything. Just say, stop, tie everything together with a bow on it and deliver it to us so that we can understand. And I realize that this is a circumstantial case, right? There's a lot of things they don't have. It's a lot like the one we just watched with Alexander Jackson, where there's just a lot of pieces that point to Alex Murdaugh, but don't necessarily pin him. So there's going to be a lot of that, and for that reason, the state might have it wrong a little bit. They might have some facts of their story or their theory of events to be a little bit wrong. But what they're going to do is they're going to take every piece of evidence they have, and there's a lot of evidence, and they're going to tie that all together and weave a story, and they're going to tell us that story in the opening statements. And that's what I'm waiting for, and that's today, right? That's what starts in a minute or less. It should be starting any time now. So that's where we are. Let me see if we have any questions right now. Yeah, Kara Green, this is one of the largest televised cases in the nation right now, if not the most. You've got somebody who's very powerful. He was a lawyer himself. It's a lawyer's being charged with murder. Okay, he knows the legal system. He's acted in it as an officer of the court before. Yeah, just it's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. In addition, we've got all the creepy looks in this guy for some reason. It's the eyes. I mean, everything else he looks sort of like a version of maybe an older version of Ken, the Barbie doll. He looks sort of like that, like, Lego hair model style, but the eyes are they're just like black holes. That's all they are when you look at him. And you'll see that when trial starts. Also, the pictures that we have of him pre-trial were, with this full head of hair. And then recently in some of the hearings, he shaved his head completely bald. Looks like we're just now getting a feed from the courtroom. They're just a couple minutes late, just waiting for WLTX to give us a feed. I want to make sure that audio is good. Law and Crime just has the clock on the wall. I can show you what they have right here. Okay. Let's see. Nems Girl, you were gifted a membership by Thal, as along with 19 other people. Absolutely incredible. So congratulations. I'm trying to ignore you. I really am. But you're talking in chat, and I see you. And just because you're not green yet doesn't mean I won't see your remarks.
Chipmunk, almost as nutty as the Daybell case. Peanut, chestnut, money bag, gun, mind blown.
Yes. Thank you, AJ. He is a little bit crazy. The facts of this case are, I think, very well point towards premeditated murder, and the motive is what's going to be. It's going to blow your mind. Let's see. I suspect, says Karen Paul, I suspect he killed Paul because Paul was costing him millions related to the boating accident that Alex and Maggie provided a ton of alcohol for. Yeah. There's so much to this. It's so bizarre. Okay, I'm not getting a feed yet, and it's making me nervous. I see Law and Crimes. No audio yet, though. Kind of insulting, Ken. Sorry, Keisha. That's all I can really relate him to in the picture. What has he actually been charged with? We're going to go over that. I think in this case it's just 2 counts of murder and then some weapons charges, I believe. All the financial stuff is separate. That's all going to be handled differently. That's not going to be included in here, and I don't know how much of that is even going to be brought up or allowed in. So that'll be fun. Judge is late. Judge is not timely. Don't fret. Well, we'll see what happens. The funny thing about this, I love the media guideline that the court released on this trial. They basically said everybody who gets a feed from this courtroom, you can't copyright it. So you can share this, you can stream it, but you can't copyright it, and you can't strike someone else for sharing this feed. So we can watch this one. Ooh, somebody kicked the camera. We can watch this one without any problems, I think. Don't know where. Oh, my mug's over here. I went and drank my water before it started. Yes, DMB. This is in South Carolina. Not too far from me. By that I mean I could probably drive there in a day. Because out here, not all roads lead to everywhere. There are some places you can't get there from here, and so you might have to go through a lot of different lefts and rights to get there. But I feel like some kind of voting portion of this case was in the last season of Dexter. They did finish jury selection, just barely. The judge gave them some preliminary instructions as well. He might have a few more for them before they start, but he swore them in, and so we're ready to go. Bring out the pickles. Let's see. Yeah, this will be interesting. I'm hoping that we get more of a picture of what the defense is going to say. I think they're not going to sit there and just say they didn't prove it. They're definitely going to put up their own witnesses. I don't think he will testify in his own defense. I don't think he's that stupid, but then again, I'm usually wrong. Look at that chandelier. We're getting closer. We have lights on at least. It's a well-lit courtroom maybe. Hit I-95 and go south. That'll get me there. We might have to do that, and then I'll stream from my phone, right? Okay. I wonder if they're going to have us in a 2-box all day long like this. If they are, if this is the feed, if the feed is going to be like a watching Zoom, I have a trick. If they are, I can actually take the images and crop them down and make them as if they're full screen, and then I can make it bigger. So I can play with the video if we need. We'll make it watchable, however it is. Hey, Kolivar. That explains so much. I was wondering if the drawing might be like a Warhammer type drawing. Good to have you, man, and love the new account. At least the clock is correct. Yeah, for all of us that have OCD, well, let me say this: the clock is correct, but it is crooked. That's not just me. That's not just the angle of the camera. Someone needs to go up and just nudge it just a little bit to the right, because it's hung crooked on the wall. Waiting room music, por favor. I've only got... Oh, let's do cat screeching. How about that? Because the live stream's working. I can't do the sad music right now. There was a picture of Grandpa Murdaugh on the wall they had to take down for the trial. Seriously. Oh, my goodness. Would he have much input on what his lawyer would say with him being a lawyer himself? So this is a great point, John. Imagine this. If you go to the doctor, right, and you say, hey, here are my symptoms, the doctor's the one who decides how to treat you, right? He might say, hey, you've got this option, and he might get your input a little bit, but he's probably going to say, this is what we need to do, these are the steps, this is how you treat you. I'm the professional, I really decide how we move forward. Obviously, you have to give the go-ahead. It's sort of like that in court, where the lawyer is the professional. They're going to look at it and they say, we'll look at all the facts, we'll look at the evidence, we're going to put together our own theory of how this happened, and we're going to present the story. And it might not be what you as the defendant would have done had you been a lawyer. With him being a lawyer, if he represented himself, he would have complete control over that. Stupid, but complete control. So I don't know. I do think that he's paying probably a good deal, a good amount for these lawyers, and they probably are getting a lot of input from him, and they're working with him closely, especially because he's got that experience as well. But no, they don't have to do exactly what he says, which is probably what we're going to see most acutely in Sarah Boone's case, because I'm sure Sarah Boone has an idea of exactly what she wants her lawyer to do, and no lawyer in the world will do that. The Latin phrases in their seal are, minds ready for anything. While I breathe, I hope. That is awesome. That's beautiful, too. What happened to Judge Handsome? I miss him. He's still back up there in the courtroom with where we left. Yeah, look, they zoomed in on the slogan for us. Where we left Alexander Jackson. Red Pen says, now I'm here and on Gary Lamb's at the same time. I don't know how you guys do that. Red Pen, I actually just talked to Gary. He called me on the burner phone just a few minutes before we went live. We had a great chat. We are going to probably try to do some collaborations here in the very near future. Hopefully when my internet gets fixed tomorrow. That'll open the doors for that. I'm hesitant to try to say I'll go on his channel and have him like work around me and then me not be able to provide the link or the video feed. I don't want his channel to be tainted with my internet problems. So, and he was very generous. He even offered just to, he's willing to bend over backwards to accommodate me and make things work out and help me where my system wasn't working. So big shout out to Gary. Awesome. I'm super excited for his channel. I know we have a lot of crossover as far as viewers. I think that's great. But shout out to him. I know we stream at the same time, but we're not enemies. We're not enemies. I think the internet is a big enough place that both of us can do our thing and do it successfully. And sometimes we can be together, and sometimes we can be separate. And I think it'll be good. We could be friends, not enemies. But anyway, that's just a thought there. Let's see. Please have the soap opera music on cue for opening statements. I'll do that. We're ready for that. I don't think they're going to do a sappy story, though. I don't know. Maybe they have, bring out the tears. We'll see what happens. Myra, you're here. We are on. I'm streaming over my my AT&T cell phone connection because my home internet is crap. And here's the good news. The fact that this is working and not crashing while it's on my AT&T cell phone connection means that all my hardware is fully functional. I don't have to replace anything. Except for my modem, which I replaced yesterday. But that just means that the switchers and everything that are pretty expensive, a lot more expensive than a modem, are good. And so we just have to get the internet fixed, and we'll be sitting pretty and ready to go. Let's see. Douglas, good to have you here. Wonderful that you're here. Appreciate your perspective on all this. Yeah, the sad piano music is no longer funny. Hey, it's funny as long as the stream is not buffering. When the stream's buffering and the piano music starts and it doesn't even play smoothly, that is sad. That's super sad. What if his former law partners will testify? I believe they will. We'll have a couple of those because I think you're going to hear the testimony about him, paying a hitman to knock him off, basically, and all that, and the reasons why. 'Cause that plays in strongly to the motive, I think, behind this crime, the financial motive, his house of cards that he had built on theft, basically, and deception, was crumbling. And at the end, where he tried to, have the hitman eliminate him so that his family would get the insurance money, that was like his last effort to try to get them some money, because he knew that everything was collapsing in. And he couldn't sustain the charade. Is that right? When I said it didn't sound like I pronounced that right. The charade, the facade. Let's do that. I mixed charades and facade, but the facade's a better word. He couldn't sustain that for much longer, and so that was his effort to try to give them some money so they have something left over. When that didn't work, I think that he eliminated them because he knew that they were going to suffer when this house of cards collapsed. He seems like a straight-up good dude. Appreciated meeting him virtually. Yeah, Gary sounds fantastic. A lot of energy, a lot of experience, too. It's awesome. Portland Trailblazers TV. I'm a big Damian Lillard fan, by the way. How long will the trial go? It's probably going to be about 5 weeks, I think, if that's what I remember. Did we stream the Alex Jackson verdict? Grumpy Cat. I'll say a qualified no, because I went live from my cell phone camera, filming my laptop computer, which I don't think counts as streaming. I did watch it, but I got in. I started when they were already standing. The jury was walking in, so that was it. Guilty verdict for Alex, yes on all three. Can you update me on what's going on right now? I got here 24 minutes late, but I'm happy to be here. Missed you. Myra, we're just starting a new court case. This is Alex Murdaugh. in South Carolina. He's charged with murdering his wife and his son. I believe killing them with 2 different guns to try to make it look like it was somebody else. There's going to be some very gruesome descriptions of the injuries, especially involving the son. Just a heads up for that. It's not pretty. The judge has already sealed all the evidence, any video that's going to show graphic video, any autopsy photos, any any pictures of the deceased, crime scene pictures. He's sealed those, and the camera should not show them. They should not. But sometimes mistakes are made. So, but as far as descriptions goes, it's not pretty. Just hearing the words, there was a lot of spatter. Let's put it that way. A lot of spatter. Okay. Trying to get the people who are tagging me here. Sunshine Sunflowers says Paul and Maggie were killed before the hitman ruse. Yes. Okay. So I got that backwards. Yes. He tried to kill He tried to get himself killed to leave it to the other son, Buster. Paul and Maggie were killed before. It was.
There's a lawsuit.
I was just reading that just the other day. I'm sorry I mixed that up in my head, but there was just so much this trial. I'm sure probably I'm still confused on some of it. I will say right now the burner phone is sort of silenced. So if you do text me on the burner phone, I'm because I want this feed to go flawlessly. I'm not going to be checking it for just a little bit. So while we're streaming here until I get my internet up and running, I'm not going to check the burner phone. So I do apologize for that. But thank you, because so many of you reached out to me as the Alexander Jackson verdict was coming in and we were moving forward on that one. I was just getting buzz after buzz after buzz after all the people who were just like, hey, we've got action, we've got motion here. The verdict's in, they haven't announced it yet. It was so good, and I appreciate you keeping me updated on that. Okay, camera's getting close. Still no audio on any of the feeds. WLTX has not even started their feed yet. Just going to leave everything. I don't want to touch anything because it's working, right? Michelle, it's good to see you and everyone. Good to be here. Let's see. Nancy's here. I'm here, Abby. I came in kind of late. I didn't know we were up and running. It's sort of up and running. I don't know how long my data will hold out. I've never tethered my phone before like this, but my switcher. Here, I'll show you the switcher here. The switcher back here, it can tether through 2 devices. It can either go straight through the internet or it can go through a cell phone. And normally I have it set up to go through the internet, and if the internet completely drops, it will go through my cell phone. Well, the internet never completely drops. It just drops to a level that's so low that the YouTube crashes. But it doesn't drop low enough that that it actually switches over to the cell phone. So now we're on the cell phone side, and if the cell phone completely drops, it should switch over to the internet. But hopefully that'll not happen. So, Caroline played your stream of the verdict for us. Awesome, that's great. It was not pretty, but that's all I could manage at the time. Yes, South Carolina versus Alex Murdaugh, accused of murdering his wife and one of his sons. Let's see who just said, I can't wait to hear my name a million times. Who was that? Maggie G. Yes. You're going to hear your name a million times. And you're right. That's accurate. And I don't know if it was a shotgun, but it was definitely, if it wasn't a shotgun, it was large caliber. Let's put it that way. That chapter has a breakdown of this. We might have to do that. Maybe I might do it on the weekend and try to put together a summary as we get going. I do want to hear these opening statements, really get an idea for what's happening. I will say this now that we've got a few more people in here. If for some reason the stream goes down, if AT&T says, hey, that's not how we envisioned you using tethering, because I'm using so much data. But if that goes down, what I'm going to do is I'm going to immediately open up another room for tomorrow's live stream. It will just be open for 9 a.m. tomorrow, and it will just be a chat room. So if you guys want to still hang out and chat and watch it on whatever feed is available to you, that would be an option. But I won't actually try to go live stream again until the internet gets fixed, if it does go down today. Dallas K, we are here again. What's this trial? This is Alex Murdaugh. Very powerful man. Seriously, he's somebody who is very well respected and very well connected throughout the area in South Carolina. Very few of the, if any, of the jurors or potential jurors hadn't heard of the family. So a lot of people knew about this case. Almost all of them had heard something about this case. Yeah, shotgun is a little bit more than a 22, just a tiny bit. A 22, think about it as smaller than the diameter of a pencil, and a shotgun is more. It's probably like a dime. I'd say dime size is good. A little larger than a dime. How old was the son? Heidi, I don't know off the top of my head. I'll have to check on that one. I don't know his age. Debbie's writing me in for president. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Recovery addict for president.
I don't know what I would do if I had to be president. There's a lot of weight on their shoulders. That's not an easy job. Tish says, I've watched all the documentaries on TV on Murdaugh, so I'm invested already. Yeah, once you start watching, this is crazy. And I like the players. You look at his bench as far as attorneys go, and it's like there's so much people. There's so many people to watch. There's so much action and expression. And they're not just all stone-faced. You'll see a lot of it. Can't wait for it to get going so I can show you what I'm talking about. Oh, I said it wrong. It's splatter with an L. There's debate, spatter and splatter. I think it was. I think that was splatter. I think you're absolutely correct. Thanks for correcting me. Jumping up and down, says MB. Regarding Alex Jackson, first degree murder or not? Yes. First, I believe it was guilty on all three, first degree. Sherry, they're supposed to be back right now. Trial was supposed to start at 3. The shake you're seeing on the camera is because people are moving around the courtroom. I see the judge's little shiny bald head. If that was him at the bottom of the camera, I think he's right underneath that seal. So I think we might pan out here in just a moment and get some action from the courtroom. Why are they starting so late today? Karen, because we originally thought that the trial would start on Monday, that it was going to take a long time to seat a jury, but they managed to get through. And I don't even think that what I heard was the state and the defense didn't use all their strikes. So there were jurors. I mean, they could have struck more jurors than what they have, that they didn't. So they seem to agree on who they've got there. And because they went faster than normal, the judge says, hey, let's go ahead and start. And both of them said we can start at 3. And now we're just waiting on the judge. There's a lot going on in this case. Very easy to be confused with the timeline. Yes, and I will be confused. So if I do make a mistake, please correct me. I will not be offended at all. Most of you are smarter than me. Twisted Branches, apparently there's a Snapchat that Paul made just before he was murdered. Like, just before? I mean, does it have the murderer in it type thing? Or is it like an hour before type thing? Premonition. Okay, now I'm curious. I wonder what it was. They did just pick a jury. Tag says, I had to use my phone until I broke up with AT&T last week. I feel you. Oh, man. Do you think Buster will testify? Yes. I think all his family members that are alive will testify. So that would be Buster. Yeah. When are they back? Any second now. I don't know what they're doing. The judge needs to give the go-ahead to start trial, because until the trial starts, oh, man. Thank you, T-Rocks. Well, I am going to get it sorted. It might be a couple days, but looking back at this, I'll probably laugh. I just cry myself to sleep right now. So it will get sorted out soon enough. I've actually got dual mics. Just one second. see. I might have to open a chat room. You can hear me. Hang in there. We're with you. It seems to be working right now. Nobody say the bad B word.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. What I will say now is intended to serve as an introduction to this trial. These remarks are not a charge on the law. I will instruct you on the law in greater detail at the end of the trial before you retire to consider your verdict. But this is an explanation of the procedure so you may better understand what's happening. The defendant is charged with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of possession of a weapon during the commission of a violent crime, the elements of which will be explained to you later. He has pled not guilty to these charges. He's presumed to be not guilty of these charges. He cannot be found guilty unless the state presents evidence which convinces you, the jury, of his guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. The charge is simply the documents by which the case comes into court. Your purpose as jurors will be to decide the facts of this case. And out of all the people who were summoned to come here for jury duty, out of all the people who live here in Colleton County, out of all the people who live here in the state of South Carolina or any place else, only the 12 of you who will deliberate can decide the facts of this case. And you'll determine the facts of this case from the testimony which will come from this witness stand, together with any exhibits which is made a part of the record or any stipulations entered into by counsel. It is especially important that you perform your duty diligently and conscientiously and in conformity with the oath that you took, because ordinarily there is no way to correct an erroneous determination of facts by a jury. Now, just as only you can determine the facts of this case, as the presiding judge, I am the judge of the law. You must accept as correct the law as I stated to you, then deliberate and decide. I cannot tell you what the facts are. You cannot disagree with me as to what the law is, and even if you disagree, you must follow the law as I stated to you. You take the facts as you find them to be, the laws I give it to you, you deliberate and you decide the case. Until I tell you that it's time to do so, you cannot discuss the case with anyone, including your fellow jurors. You cannot discuss the case with family, friends, or anyone else. The attorneys in the case, you cannot discuss it with them or any parties or anyone else that might be connected with the case. Should you discover that a fellow juror is violating that oath and that order, you are to bring that to my attention. It's also vital that you do not seek information outside of the courtroom during the case. That means that you're not to search internet websites, watch television reports, news reports, any other form of social media accounts of the case, because you are sworn to decide this case based on the facts as you determine them to be, based on evidence presented in the case, as well as the law as I give it to you. Now, later in the process, I will appoint one of you to serve as the foreperson of the jury. And that person will have the responsibility of serving as the spokesperson for the jury. That person will have the responsibility of presiding over the jury deliberations. And that person will have the responsibility of completing the verdict form representing the unanimous verdict of the jury. In just a moment, the Attorney General will make an opening statement in which he will explain the issues as he sees it, or as the Attorney General sees it. Following that, the defense counsel will have that same opportunity. Then we'll begin with the presentation of testimony from witnesses. I look forward to working with you on this case and to keep the case moving as reasonable as we can keep it moving, but we will not rush, but take the time necessary to have this case fully presented to you. We'll now proceed to opening statements by the state.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. On the evening of June 7th, 2021, at the defendant's property off Moselle Road in Colleton County, his son, Paul Murdoch, was standing in a small feed room and some kindling they had on the property. About 8:50 p.m., and the defendant over there, Alec Murdoch, took a 12-shade shotgun and shot him in the shoulder, in the chest and the shoulder with buckshot. And the evidence is going to show it was a 1,000,000-to-1 shot. He could have survived that, but after that, another shot went up under his head and did catastrophic damage to his brain and his head. The evidence is going to show that Paul collapsed right outside that feed room. And just moments later, he picked up a .300 ammunition, but an AR-style rifle, and the evidence is going to show that the family had multiple weapons throughout the property, picked up that .300 blackout rifle, and opened fire on his wife, Maggie, just feet away near some sheds that used to be a hangar. Pow, pow! 2 shots, abdomen and the leg, and took her down. And after that, there were additional shots, including 2 shots to the head that again did catastrophic damage. To the head that again did catastrophic damage and killed her. The evidence is going to show that neither Paul nor Maggie had any defensive wounds. Neither one of them had any defensive wounds, as if they didn't see a threat coming from their attacker. And the evidence is also going to show that both Maggie and Paul were shot at extremely close range. The evidence is going to show it's called stippling. It's almost like a tattoo, that when you get shot very close to a weapon, it leaves marks that the forensic pathologist can see. They were shot at close range and they did not have defensive wounds. And the evidence is going to show that the defendant, Alec Murdoch over there, told anyone who would listen that he was never at those kennels. But the evidence is also going to show from these things that every one of us, most of us carry around in our pocket, that he was there. And he was there just minutes before, with Maggie and Paul, just minutes before they're silent forever. Despite what he told people, I was never at those kennels, the cell phones are going to show otherwise. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Creighton Waters. I'm with the Attorney General's office and I'll be the lead prosecutor. I introduced myself before. With me is David Fernandez, Savannah Gow, John Metters, Don Zelinka, John Conrad, and Johnny James. A lot of lawyers. This is a big case. It's a very complicated case, and that's why there's so many people working on it. Sitting back in the row, we have David Owen, who's the lead investigator. We have Lieutenant Charles Gent, He was one of the agents, Special Agent Ryan Kelly and Special Agent Peter Rudolphy. Some of the agents that are working on the case, as well as Investigator Isaac Toledo, who's working on the case as well. There's some of the witnesses that you'll hear from as we go through this case. The judge talked to you a little bit about
introductions all around.
Him being the judge of the law, and he gives you the law. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the legal concepts before I turn back to those facts. Just remember, though, he's the judge of the law, so you take what he says, but I'm going to explain to you some of the legal issues from my perspective before we talk a little bit more about the evidence in the case. And the first thing is right before y'all all took an oath. Take an oath to become an attorney, take another oath to become a prosecutor, judge takes another oath to become a judge, witnesses take oath on the stands, law enforcement take oaths to become law enforcement, but y'all took an oath as well. And the reason why is that y'all have the most important job in this courtroom. Every one of you raised your hand and said that you would well and truly try this case. And it's the most important job here because like the judge said, he's the judge of the law, but y'all are the judge of the facts.
Pull up the stream.
Listen to what comes from that witness stand and judge those facts. But you also have to
going in and out.
That oath. That oath requires
now more
you
out than
to
in.
do that hard job, to make that decision, to call the strike when you see it. It's the same oath. It's just as important as any other oath. This might be the most important in this courtroom. The judge mentioned reasonable doubt, and he's exactly right. It's the state's burden to prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt. That is a cornerstone of our country. I wouldn't have it any other way. It's a burden we welcome. It's what we want. It's a system that has been well tested and true, and we take that burden to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. And I want to remind everyone that the emphasis is on reasonable. Okay? It's not any doubt. It is reasonable doubt. Reasonable doubt is often defined, and again, listen to the judge how he defines it, but reasonable doubt is a doubt that would cause a reasonable person to hesitate to act. To hesitate to act. And when you hear the evidence coming from this stand about this particular case, I submit to you, you won't hesitate to act. Again, remember the emphasis is on reasonable and reasonable doubt. The judge mentioned the charges, and there are 4 of them. First indictment accuses Alec Murdoch, to which he's pled not guilty, but it accuses him of murdering Maggie Murdoch. The second indictment accuses him of murdering Paul Murdoch. The third indictment accuses him of possessing a firearm during the commission of a violent crime, that being the murder of Maggie Murdoch. And the last one accuses him of possessing a firearm during the commission of a violent crime, and that being the murder of Paul Murdoch. And what does that mean? What is murder? Well, the judge again is going to instruct you, but it is the unlawful killing of another with malice aforethought. And what is malice? Malice is a mental state. That's ultimately going to be for y'all to determine as to what was going through Alec Murdoch's mind when he committed these crimes. What is malice? Malice has often been defined as the intentional doing of a wrongful act without just cause or excuse. It is the intent to inflict an injury under circumstances that the law would presume an evil intent. An evil intent. And when you look at the circumstances of the crime, when you look at what led up to this crime, the evidence is going to show that there was malice aforethought. Aforethought, what does that mean? It means it has to exist at the moment you commit that crime. It doesn't have to be planned. It doesn't have to be planned for any long period of time. It just has to exist a split second before the crime is committed. But when you see this crime and you hear all the circumstances, the evidence is going to show that aforethought existed for a while. It existed for a while in the mind of Alec Murdoch. You're also going to hear about circumstantial evidence. And a lot of times people hear, oh, it's just a circumstantial case. But the law says otherwise. The law says that circumstantial evidence is just as good as direct evidence. And what's the difference between the two? Direct evidence is supposedly about to storm out here, from what I'm told. Direct evidence is if it's sunny outside and a witness goes outside and it's sunny and they come in here and they get on that witness stand and because they saw it raining, they sit on the stand and said, I was just outside and I saw it raining. I saw it raining. That's direct evidence. They actually saw it raining. Is if they're behind the shades, they hear thunder, they hear the wind blowing, they hear the sound of raindrops on the roof, and then they open up the door and it's not raining, but everything is wet. There's puddles in the driveway, there's puddles in the street, there's puddles in the yard, there's limbs down all over the ground. And then they come in here and say, yeah, it was raining. Didn't actually see it raining, but those circumstances are beyond any reason. See it raining, but those circumstances are beyond any reasonable doubt that it was actually raining. Now, I guess it's possible that somebody could have been standing outside their window and beating a drum to sound like thunder and blowing a fan to make it seem like it was the wind and somehow got enough water to coat the entire neighborhood. But that's not reasonable. Everybody understand that distinction? Another thing, and this is crucial, what you're going to do in this particular case, is determine credibility or the believability of witnesses. So it'll be your job to look at the evidence, the exhibits in the case, but also the witnesses and decide if it's truthful, if you believe it, if you can rely on it. And the judge is going to instruct you that you can believe one witness against many or many witnesses against one. You can believe all the witnesses' testimony or part of the witness' testimony. It's up to you, first individually and then as a product of your deliberations. And what you're required to do there is just to rely on that good old-fashioned common sense. Does it all fit together? Is it corroborated? Does it fit with what you would expect? Does it fit with what you expect how real people would act? Does it seem real? Does something seem a little off? Does something seem a little off? You're going to see video statements of Alec Murdoch. You're going to see body-worn camera of him at the scene when law enforcement arrives. And hear what he says. And hear what he says about that night. You're going to hear 3 recorded statements on video that he gave with law enforcement. And you're going to hear how things progress about what he says and what he says he did that night. Watch those closely. Watch his expressions. Listen to what he's saying. Listen to what he's not saying. Use that common sense. Does this seem right? Or does something seem a little off? Something seems a little off about this. I mentioned that Maggie was killed with a .300 blackout rifle, an AR-style rifle, but chambered in .300 blackout ammunition. And you're going to hear evidence that back in Christmas of 2016, Alec Murdoch over there bought 2 .300 blackout AR-style rifles. And then not long after that, one of them went missing from Paul's truck. And time went by, and in April of 2018, Alec Murdoch replaced that rifle and bought another one. 3 total blackout rifles that they had. One of them went missing years ago, and a replacement was bought. You're going to hear evidence that Paul and his friend were using that replacement gun. They were standing right outside the side door to the gun room of the house, and they were sighting it in, firing down into a field. And the cases were ejecting. The cases are the empty shell from a bullet, and they were ejecting out into the flower bed right there. And then there's a range across the street, and they shot it there, and there's cases ejected there as well. And they were shooting that 3rd replacement gun just weeks prior to the murders, prior to June 7th, 2021, when Maggie and Paul were murdered. And you're going to hear forensic evidence that the cases that were found in that flower bed and the cases that were found across the street at that range were ejected out of the same weapon that fired all the cases that were around Maggie's dead body, that killed her. It was a family weapon that killed Maggie Murdoch. And you're going to hear evidence that of those 3 blackouts that Alec Murdoch purchased, when law enforcement arrives at the scene on June 7th, 2021, he can only account for one of them. He can only account for one of them. And that replacement gun is nowhere to be found. You're also going to hear evidence that the type of ammunition, the exact brand, the exact model of ammunition that was used to kill Maggie, S&B, 300 blackout ammunition, and 147 grain bullets, that exact ammunition, boxes, empty boxes of that ammunition, is found all over the property. The very same brand and model of ammunition that was used to kill her is found at multiple locations throughout the property. And you're also going to hear evidence, the same thing about the shotgun shells that killed Paul. That federal double-aught buckshot unfired rounds were found on the property, as well as Winchester #2 turkey loads, the 2 rounds in the shotgun that killed Paul.
I think this guy's
Family
a gun
weapon,
user.
same ammunition. It's on the property. You're also going to hear evidence that about a week after the murders, Mr. Alec Murdaugh's father had died, Mr. Randolph, and about a week after the murders, he shows up early in the morning at his parents' home, where his mother still is in late-stage Alzheimer's, on Alameda in Hampton. It's uncharacteristic for him to show up early, uncharacteristic for him to show up at all like that, and he comes in and he's carrying something in a blue tarp, and he takes it upstairs, and eventually law enforcement finds out about that, and they go upstairs and they find a wadded up, very, very large raincoat in a blue color, could look like a tarp, and you're going to hear evidence that it was coated with gunshot residue on the inside. On the inside.
So he wraps the gun in a raincoat before he fired it?
You're going to hear other evidence of gunshot residue. You're going to hear that there was gunshot residue on Alec at the scene. You're going to hear the evidence that there was gunshot residue on the seatbelt of the car he was driving. You're going to hear evidence that when law enforcement got to the scene, he had gone and gotten a shotgun, Paul's shotgun, and that Maggie's DNA was on that shotgun. You're going to hear other evidence from DNA, gunshot residue, firearms examiners. There's going to be a lot of forensic evidence in this case. And I'm not going to get into every single bit of it right now, but I will say that a key piece of forensic evidence that you're going to hear in this case is the cell phone evidence. Alec's cell phone, Maggie's cell phone, Paul's cell phone. You know, this is all amazing technology that most of us carry around in our pockets. It really allows us to do a lot of things and to get a lot done. But this cell phone keeps track of who we're talking to, who we're calling, who we're texting, whenever we access apps. And every time you do that, there's a record kept in this phone unless it's deleted somehow. And if you're using certain apps, you can even get GPS information where you were when you did that that's stored on these phones. You're going to hear evidence about that. You're going to hear evidence that when you make a call and it pings off of cell towers, that location information can be gathered from that as well. And so it allows an investigation to take this and piece together what someone was doing on a particular day, and not only what they were doing, but who they were interacting with and how they were interacting with them. And this is going to be crucial evidence for you to consider. You're going to hear that particularly Alec and Paul, but also Maggie, were prolific cell phone users, to the point where Paul's friends even had a nickname for him about his cell phone usage. Before I talk more about that, there's 3 family properties I need to talk about. Okay. The first one I've mentioned is Moselle. Moselle in Colleton County. It's called Moselle. It's off of Moselle Road, but everybody refers to it as Moselle. And that property is there's a lot of acres. There's a main house on it, and there's a driveway that goes to that main house. But it used to be an airstrip, and there's an airstrip that goes down, and then down the way, just less than a third of a mile away, just a 3-minute walk, 4-minute walk, 45-second drive, is the kennels and the shed that used to be a hangar where Paul and Maggie were murdered. So the main house is just less than a third of a mile away. You can see the kennels from the main house. You can see the main house from the kennels. The family also had a house in Edisto at the beach. And the evidence is going to show that that is where Maggie preferred to stay, particularly in the summer months. She liked the beach. She was not a hunter. She didn't want to be at Moselle. She didn't want to be at the lodge where it was hot and buggy. She liked being in Edisto. And then you're also, I've already mentioned, the house in Alameda, which is where his parents' home. On June 7th, 2021, you're going to hear evidence that his father went into the hospital and the prognosis was not good. And in fact, he died a few days later. And his mother is in late stage Alzheimer's, and that house being cared for by a caretaker, or you're going to hear from that caretaker.
Mr. Waters.
Yes, sir.
Can we pause for a moment? We'll be at ease for just a moment.
Yes, sir, Your Honor.
It's interesting. The judge interrupted him just a little bit. Jury's going to get excused. This is not normal. Typically, you don't have. Let me switch over to this other. Let's see. I want to keep this audio. This one's on, and this one is off. But we're going to switch to this one, so we can just see more of the courtroom. Oh, and then they cut to this feed instead. Of course. Lots of cameras in the courtroom. You can see quite a few of them. Looks like they've taped something up over the windows, like paper over the windows. Do you see that around the doors? It probably was clear glass, and they've taped it up to make it opaque for security reasons. That's just my guess there. Don't quote me on that one. Courtroom doesn't look that full. No, but I think a lot of people were not expecting the court to start today. I don't know how many reporters the judge is going to allow in. Typically, they limit that to a few, and they might do a lottery system on that. But everyone's looking back to their right, like something's going on back there. So I'm curious what's happened here. We might have to watch Twitter on this. People on the inside might know for sure. I don't know if a juror asked for a moment, but something's happening. The judge interrupted the opening statement. Not common. Can the judge recap? Can I recap what was said so far? Yeah, basically they're saying, whoa, that's not the jury, is it right there? No, it's not. That's defense over there. Sorry, I was thinking that was the jury on the right-hand side. The prosecution is making their opening statement, which is not evidence, but it is like a roadmap for what evidence you are going to hear during the trial. So they stood up. They said, this is how it happened. Okay, shotgun to the shoulder, shotgun to the head for the son, and then AR 300 blackout rounds to the leg, and point blank finishing off the wife. Two different guns that were used to kill the wife and the son in these kennel areas. The property is huge. It's like 1,700 acres. It's massive. And then the cell phone.
You may proceed.
Feature prominently the cell phone data. So we'll see that gunshot residue.
We were talking about the three family properties. Moselle has the main house and the kennels / sheds. The main house has a driveway, but the kennels also have a driveway. And the evidence is going to show that was actually as commonly used as the main driveway. In fact, the mailbox is by the kennel driveway. Driving right past those kennels where Paul and Maggie were murdered. I told you that you're going to hear evidence that Maggie did not like being in Moselle as much as she liked Edisto, the beach house. But that, on June 7th, 2021, she came back to Moselle.
We're going to have to watch Twitter for what happened there. Someone in the courtroom is going to tell us
about
this.
8:15, And the evidence is going to show that from the cell phones that Paul was there at the house, at the main house. And Alec Murdoch himself says that they ate dinner, and the autopsy is going to reflect both Paul and Maggie having similar stomach contents, indicating that they recently shared a meal together. About 8:30, not but 15 minutes after they arrived, Paul's phone starts moving towards the kennels. You're going to hear evidence again that the defendant said he was never at those kennels, that he was napping after they ate, and he was at the main house and never went there. You're also going to hear evidence about how much Alec used his own cell phone, and it would be unusual for him to be anywhere without his cell phone. At 8:44 and 55 seconds, Paul recorded a video. He was down at the kennels because he had been talking to a friend of his. And you're going to hear from this friend because his friend's dog was in the kennels and they thought there was something wrong with the tail. And Paul was recording a video of it to send to his friend. 8:44 and 55 seconds. And on that video, and you'll see that video, and you'll hear from witnesses that identify Paul's voice, Maggie's voice, and Alec's voice.
Boom.
For anyone who would listen, he was never there. At 8:44 and 55 seconds, there's a video. The evidence will show that he was there. He was at the murder scene with the two victims. And more than that,
That's not circumstantial. That's hard evidence.
Over 3 minutes later, 8:49 and 1 second, Paul's phone locks or sends another text. He doesn't answer calls.
That skips from the courtroom.
3 minutes after that video has the defendant at the murder scene with the two victims, Paul's phone goes silent forever. And in fact, another communication comes into the very friend that he was talking to the dog at 8:49 and 35 seconds, just 35 seconds later, and he doesn't answer it. He never answers another thing forever and ever. And on top of that, Maggie's phone locks at 8:49 and 31 seconds, around that same time, and she never answers another text, never sends another text, never makes another phone call, never receives another phone call. 3 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. 3 minutes after a video shows he's at the scene with the victims, and he told everybody he was never there. Never there. Credibility, ladies and gentlemen. Credibility. So what happens after that? Well, you'll hear evidence that Alec's phone was conspicuously, didn't have a lot of activity from about 8:09 p.m. until 9:02 p.m. And if he was at the kennels, which the evidence will show, why is his phone not with him? Why is it not showing activity? But you will hear that at 9:02, all of a sudden his phone does start to pick up activity. At 9:02, he starts moving. At 9:04, he calls Maggie's phone. Doesn't answer, of course. Doesn't answer. He calls his father, Randolph, who's in the hospital. Doesn't appear there's an answer there. He calls Maggie again at 9:06. Remember, he's just a third of a mile away. You can see it. At 9:06, she doesn't answer. At 9:06, he turns on his car, his Suburban, and he texts Maggie that he's going, be right back. I'm going to go check on Mom. And he doesn't drive down to the kennels, even though that's where the mailbox is. That's a common place to be, even though you can see it. He's called his wife 2 times and texted her, and she hasn't responded. But he didn't just drive down there and say, hey, I'm heading. You guys want to go? What's up? What's up? Right there. You can see it. He then drives to Alameda, where his mom is suffering from Alzheimer's, and the caretaker is there. And he starts calling people. He's talking to people. It'll be up to you to decide whether or not he's trying to manufacture an alibi.
Is that the son there with the red hair? Is that Buster?
He gets there to Alameda. You'll hear evidence about whether or not that was usual. You'll hear evidence about how he was acting when he got there. And he's only there for 20 minutes because he's back underway at 9:44. And he makes more phone calls on the way back. Calling friends, calling people who will answer. It'll be up to you to decide whether he's trying to create an alibi.
Most definitely.
And he gets back to Moselle at 10:01. And he calls 911 at 10:06. Listen to that 911 call. Listen to what he says. Listen to what explanations he may offer. You're going to hear that 911 call, but you're also going to see the body-worn camera of the officers who arrived at the scene. The video camera they wear so that it records what they're doing. And you're going to see what he did to Maggie and Paul. It's going to be gruesome. There's no other way around it. It's what he did. You're going to see crime scene photographs. You're going to see the traumatic injuries that were suffered. You're going to hear from a pathologist, a doctor who will examine the injuries. It's going to be gruesome. There's no other way around it.
This is opening remarks.
On that 911 call and on the body-worn cameras, pay attention to what he says. Look at how he's acting. But he says within a few minutes of each one of those, he says, this is about the boat case. This is about the boat case. And you're going to hear some of what was going on in Alex Murdaugh's life leading up to that day. Stuff that happened that very day, stuff that was leading up, a perfect storm that was gathering, much like the storms that are coming outside today. Listen for that evidence. Listen to that gathering storm that all came to a head on June 7th, 2021, the day the evidence will show he killed Maggie and Paul. This has been a long, exhaustive investigation. And it's going to be a fairly long trial because it's complicated. It's a journey. There's a lot of aspects to this case. There's a lot of factors to this case. But like a lot of things that are complicated, when you start to put them all together, and piece them together like a puzzle, all of a sudden the picture emerges and it's really simple. It's really simple. Once we get to the end of that journey, and you have a chance to deliberate, the evidence is going to be such that you're going to reach the inescapable conclusion that Alec murdered Maggie and Paul, that he was the storm, that the storm was coming for them, and the storm arrived on June 7th, 2021, just like the storms that are heading here right now, that they died as a result, beyond any reasonable doubt. Thank you.
He's good, but not as good as Miss Slaughter from the Alexander Jackson trial. She tells the story a little better. He's got the
For the defense.
Please, Court, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Let's see if they do the sob story. Sorry, I know I cut off that sentence mid-sentence, but I want to listen to this guy.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my name is Dick Harpootlian. I think I introduced myself to you all and the attorneys, the three other attorneys, Jim Griffin.
There's a road by the courthouse, and you're hearing noise from the road, like trucks and stuff.
Margaret Fox. It is our honor to represent Alec Murdaugh,
Oh my goodness.
or Murdoch, depending on how you pronounce it. I say it's our honor because I submit to you what you have heard from the Attorney General as facts are not. They're his theories, his conjecture. Now stand up. This is Alec Murdaugh. And Alec was the loving father of Paul and the loving husband of Maggie. You're not going to hear a single witness say that their relationship, Maggie and Alex's relationship, were anything other than loving. You're going to hear about how they went to a baseball game the weekend before. You're going to hear about their relationship. You're going to see texts and emails indicating a loving relationship. Paul, the apple of his eye. You're going to see a video somewhere between 7:30 and 8 o'clock the night of the murders, with Paul and Alec riding around looking at some trees they planted. It's a Snapchat that Paul sent to other people because the trees were not planted very well. They were cantilevering over. They're laughing. They're having a good time. That would be about an hour before the Attorney General says he swatted them. When I say he swatted them, when they were swatted, and no question, Paul Murdaugh was shot twice with buckshot, 12-gauge buckshot, once in the chest. And by the way, that shot would indicate it was in the chest and came out under his arm, like somebody that might have been holding up their hands. So when he says no defensive wounds, he perhaps was being held at shotgun. I mean, I can make the same sort of speculation that the Attorney General can, because that's all he's doing is speculating. What we do know is 12-gauge, fairly close range shot to the chest. He must have been turned because it comes out under his arm. There's wadding, if you're familiar with a shotgun, under his arm. The second shot ended up, and there's going to be some question about the direction of that shot, but ended up entering his skull cavity, and the gases from that shot literally exploded his head like a watermelon hit with a sledgehammer. All that was left was the front of his face. Everything else was gone. His brain exploded out of his head, hit the ceiling in the shed, and dropped to his feet. Horrendous, horrible, butchering. So to find Alec Murdaugh guilty of murdering his son, you're going to have to accept that within an hour of having a extraordinarily bonding, you can see it in the Snapchat, that he executes him in a brutal fashion. Not believable. Not believable. Now, Maggie is shot running. There's no defensive wounds because she's shot running, and after she falls to the ground and has one bullet that has hit her and probably traveled up and hit her brain, she's on the ground, and whoever the perpetrator was walked up, took that AR and put one in the back of her head. Executed. Executed. Why? This is going to be interesting because we don't know why. He doesn't know why. He's got theories of this and theories of that, but why? Number one. Number two, what was it in that hour between when he's yucking it up with Paul? And let me say this to you. His record, he was interviewed, he comes home and finds, there's no question about this, they've got telemetry from his car. He left the house at 9:06, returns at 10:01 after seeing his mother who has dementia. Now remember, that day, his father, who is dying, is taken to the hospital. Mom's home alone with the housekeeper. Perfectly reasonable for him to want to go see her. And later than usual, because his father's not there. He's in the hospital. He dies 2 days later. His father dies 2 days later. So the question is, if he leaves at 9:06 and he's back at 10:01, he literally, I mean, and he can account, the cars and the cell phone records account for where he was between 9:06 and 10:01. Now the cell phone records, and you're going to hear this from their own experts, are incomplete. They're incomplete. And we submit one of the reasons they're incomplete, and by the way, how do they find Maggie's phone? Maggie's phone was thrown out on the side of the road about a quarter of a mile away from, a little bit more, maybe a half a mile, from the Moselle property, thrown out on the side of the road. They found it by using Find My iPhone. And the way they did that, they had to open it or have access. Who gave them the code to open the phone? Now, Murdoch. And it's not destroyed, it's just thrown on the side of the phone. What you're also going to see is that Alec Murdaugh was calling that phone at 9:06. As he leaves the house, he did call her twice.
I don't think they're allowing the previous questionable deaths in this one.
And we also know that at 9:06, as he cranks his car, as the cell phone records show that, as the telemetry data shows the cell phone linking up with the car, that phone is being thrown on the side of the road almost a half a mile away. Now that is Houdini. That is magic. That is inexplicable. Now, I was making notes while the Attorney General was talking. But let me tell you what is more believable. The night he comes home and finds his wife and son butchered. And when I say butchered, you're going to see these photographs.
We're not.
When I see them now, after having seen them for the last 4 or 5 months, it still shocks me. It still is tough to look at. It still bothers me. And he comes home and finds his son laying in his own blood with his brain laying at his feet, shot to hell. He walks over, he checks to see if there's any life there, although, I mean, he's seeing his brain laying outside his body. He knows there's nothing there. He goes over and tries to get a pulse out of Maggie. No pulse there. Calls 911. I want you to hear that 911 tape. It is a man hysterical, in grief, trying to figure out what's going on. And he tells the 911 operator that he's concerned, and he drives back up to the house. And by the way, you can't see, I've been out there, you can't see the shed where you might see the top of the shed. There are pine trees between the front porch or the porch on the house and the dog pens. And it's not a third of a mile, maybe by the way the crow flies, but it takes a little bit longer to drive down there. And this is not unusual for them to communicate by cell phone or text, even when they're all on the same property. It's 1,100 acres. Big property.
I know families that text each other at the dinner table.
So what I'm trying to say to you is that the Attorney General has given you his view. And again, you can't see the shed. And I'm going to ask the judge at some point during this trial to ask you, the jury, to be able to go to the scene so you can see it. You can understand the court.
The judge's like,
you can understand the details.
We're going to go tour the property.
Because the facts
it's for sale right now.
Here.
It's under contract.
The facts. Let me give you another fact. You're going to hear their witnesses explain the catastrophic injuries to Paul. That his head literally exploded. And whoever shot him with that shotgun was probably no more than 3 feet away. Maybe closer, maybe a little further away. His head exploded. You would be covered in blood from head to foot. Head to foot. In blood. They seized his clothes that night. Sled did. And they test, well, first of all, you're going to see in the videos from the officers that arrived that night, there's no blood on him. They didn't find any blood on him. SLED's testing indicated 12 different places on his shirt and pants, no human blood detected. Period. Okay? You'll see pictures, white t-shirt, no blood on it. Those are facts. Those aren't theories. Those are facts. Another fact that is, I think, the reason we're here today. When you hear those questions on the videotapes on the night, now he's found his wife and son brutally butchered. You can hear on the 911 tape, he is hysterical. He comes in and out. It's consistent. If any of you have ever, you got to use your experience as part of this deliberation process. Your human experience. If you've ever suffered a catastrophic loss of a friend or a family member, it's numbing. It's the minute you find out, or if you see them dead, it's numbing. You go into shock. So anything he said that night is in the context of just an hour or two before finding his wife and son butchered. He drove back up to the house while he was on 911 saying, I got to get a gun, that whoever did this might be out there. And he gets a gun. But what's fascinating about that is he gets a 12 gauge shotgun and he grabs some shells. These people hunt a lot. They have guns everywhere. He grabs some shells. He puts a 16 gauge, a 12 gauge, grabbed a 12 gauge shotgun, put a 12 gauge buckshot in, and then he put a 16 gauge buckshot in. That's how shook up he was. Guy hunted all his life, and he put a shell in that he couldn't fire a 16 gauge from a 12 gauge. Makes no sense. He was traumatized. GSR, their own expert at SLED said the amount of particles of GSR are consistent with him going up and picking that shotgun up. They want to talk about GSR? Again, if you fired a shotgun twice and a rifle 6 times, you'd be covered in GSR. Those are the facts. That's not his theory.
Not in Iowa.
The facts. Now let's talk a little bit about these ARs. Again, you're going to hear testimony. A lot of guns. They had a gun room. You know, I don't live in Carleton County. I live in downtown Columbia. Ain't no gun rooms in downtown Columbia. But apparently if you live on 1,100 acres and you hunt deer and you hunt whatever they were planting those sunflowers for, quail, I guess, big hunting. You have a lot of guns. The truth is, in 2017, and you'll hear the testimony, that Alec bought 2 blackouts, one for Paul and one for Buster, his other son who's sitting out in the audience.
Yeah, that's him.
And Paul had his stolen. He bought another one for Paul. Now, Paul was very irresponsible with guns, cars. He'd leave guns around. He'd leave guns in cars. He oftentimes left guns down at the dog pens, in the feed room. Now, I can't tell you whether he was shot with his own weapon or not, or his mom was shot with his weapon or not. But I can tell you that they weren't shot by Alex. They don't have the guns. There's no way to tell conclusively without having the weapons what weapons those were fired by. And we'll be talking a little bit with the SLED experts about that.
Don't have the weapons.
The sort of overarching issue here is why murder in June 7th, 2021, why is it September of 2022 before they charge him? And I will tell you what happened that night. And this is a problem. He's questioned, and the questioning is pretty aggressive. You'll hear it. He's traumatized. They suspect him. They show up, he's got a shotgun. They suspect him. And the next morning, 2 people found butchered here in Carleton County, Moselle Road. The police announced, don't worry, There's no danger to y'all. There's nobody out there that could pose a danger to you. Because you see, they decided that night he did it. Without forensics, without cell phones, without any of that. And they've been pounding that square peg in the round hole for the last, well, since June of 2021, resulting in charges in September of 22. And so, if he felt, and he did, and you'll hear it, the accusatory fashion he's being interviewed in, he may not have dealt all the facts. But by the way, whether he'd been down to the dog pens that night or not, really didn't matter. Really doesn't matter. Because you're going to see cell phone activity that would be, let me put it to you this way. Paul's phone, 850. Maggie's phone, later than that, 854, clearly, is still being used. At 9:06, he's up at the house getting in the car, cranking it up to drive over and see his mom. He says, a few hundred yards away, it's a little bit further than that. But the point of the matter is, he would have had to have executed both of them, got back up to the house, got the bloody clothes off, and by the way, they seized his clothes from that night. They've never searched his house for any other clothes that we know of, although that night he gave permission and they got a search warrant. Go to my house. Go look through everything. Where are the bloody clothes? Where are the bloody clothes? And of course, I would tell you that they've woven this story together because they want everything to be consistent. What's important about that is the judge, and by the way, there's no eyewitness. There's no forensics tying him to the murder. When I say forensics, fingerprints, blood, whatever, tying him to shooting anybody that night. The cell phone records would indicate he would have had less than 10 minutes to kill him, get up to the house, get in the car and crank it up. And he'd be covered in blood. Now, if they think he was beginning to establish an alibi, there's no evidence of that. The evidence is consistent with him seeing them earlier at the dog pen. And by the way, that audio they have of him and Maggie, they're talking about one of the dogs killing a chicken. And they were debating whether it was a guinea hen or a chicken. No animosity. Very normal discussion. Paul's very happy. And we know that Paul, after that, is texting back and forth with a girl about going to the movies. Nobody's down there threatening him. Daddy's not pulling out a shotgun and killing him. For, 10 minutes after that, he's texting this girl. So, big question. One shooter or two? Two guns, shotgun and an AR. And by the way, Maggie has no defensive wounds because she's running. What's she running from? And could you shoot? Typically she had a little shed right, probably 150 feet from the feed room on the other side of a wall. Perhaps she heard the shotgun blast and came around and saw somebody, or two people, and whoever it was opened up. Was there enough time to kill Paul and then find the AR and then ambush Maggie? Much more likely there were two people, but again, we don't have to prove anything. Let me sort of share the framework in which you
That sounds like a turkey
should
call.
examine this. You have agreed to follow the law, and here's the law. Here is the law. He didn't do it. He is presumed innocent. As you sit there right now, when you look at him, you have to believe he is innocent. He didn't do it. Now, let me tell you,
in the jury's faces.
That's so difficult to do. I get it. And the way maybe the best way to explain it is this. This morning or yesterday, Nobody really reads newspapers anymore, but if you're reading the newspaper, looking at the internet, and you read the police had arrested somebody for some heinous crime, the natural inclination of everybody, all of y'all, is to say, thank God they caught him or her. Thank God that person is in custody. And you did something that's so natural. We all do it. You presumed the police had arrested the person that committed the crime. You presumed him or her guilty. That is the natural thing to do. And you know what? That's fine for you to do. Any other day except today. Because you took an oath to follow the law. And the law is, he is innocent. He's presumed innocent. That is your presumption. Your mental framework is, he didn't do it. They've got to prove it to me beyond a reasonable doubt. Now, what's even more difficult, and this isn't a contest, this isn't a game, this isn't who wins and who loses. This is about justice. You know, Oliver Wendell Holmes, one of the justices of the Supreme Court, once said, jury duty is the highest duty a citizen can perform for their country in peacetime. Because you are protecting us from them, from the state, from the government. That's the foundation of our Constitution, is that the individual has the right to be presumed innocent, has the right to a jury trial, has a right to have his or her peers sit in judgment of them. That's you. And the framework is you presume him innocent, and you cannot convict him until the state proves to you beyond a reasonable doubt of his guilt. And a reasonable doubt is the kind of doubt which would cause an ordinary person to hesitate to act in the more important decisions in their life. Now, what makes this even more complicated is there's no direct evidence. There's no eyewitness. There's no camera. There's no fingerprints. There's no forensics tying him to the crime. None. None. I say that without any fear of contradiction whatsoever. None. And what the judge is going to tell you is, to the extent the state relies on circumstantial evidence, the circumstances must be consistent with each other, and when taken together, point conclusively to the guilt of the accused beyond a reasonable doubt. If these circumstances merely portray the defendant's behavior as suspicious, the proof has failed. Now, this smoke they've created is about suspicion. I mean, if you show up at the scene and you got the wife, the wife especially dead, and the guy's got a shotgun, you know, it's pretty logical for the cops to jump to a conclusion. He did it. And the problem is that as they came to that conclusion, they have pounded that square peg in the round hole, and you're going to hear about it. They've ignored some witnesses. For instance, that blue tarp showed up with a blue tarp. That witness who said he showed up with a blue tarp was shown a blue rain jacket that he talked about. Said, that's not it. That's not what he brought here that morning. I've talked to her. She says, no, it was a blue tarp. And what was it?
I object to him testifying, Your Honor.
Objection sustained.
I would indicate.
Move to strike as well, Your Honor.
Objection is sustained. You may proceed.
I would tell you that the testimony you're going to hear is inconsistent with the Attorney General's represented to you, based on interviews done by people other than me. So, what I'm telling you is this, that as you sit here and listen, every time there's a witness that takes that witness stand that the state's put up there, you see, you judge the credibility, whether to believe a witness or not believe a witness, whether to believe one witness against many, many against one. You're going to have to evaluate the testimony you hear from this witness stand with a critical eye. Critical eye. If you've got uncontested scientific evidence, you accept it. I've got no problem with that. These cell phone records he keeps talking about, I would say to you, are not necessarily accurate.
This should be
to the extent that
Dick
I will also tell you that there's going to be a bunch of people,
the pinned
and
message.
I will that have been promised something or threatened with something that may take the witness stand and say something. But I tell you what they're not going to say. They're not going to say they saw him kill him. They're not going to say that they were involved in it. They're not going to say anything that would give you a comfort level in their testimony. Now, all of you have indicated that you will follow the law. And I say this one last time. He didn't do it. He didn't butcher his son and wife. And you need to put from your mind any suggestion that he did. You've been picked because you said you could be fair. You were picked because you said you could follow the law. You were picked because Alec Murdaugh believes that you can be fair. Now, if during this process over the next however long we're here, I say something or do something, which most certainly based on my career I will do, that irritates you or angers you, sometimes I'm a little abrupt. Don't hold that against Alec. Hold it against me. If I say something that offends you in some way, don't hold that against Alec. Hold it against me. Remember, as you sit there right now, in your mind, he didn't do it. He is innocent. He would require a verdict of not guilty from you.
I'm seeing Star Wars.
That's the law.
Clips
That's
right now.
your oath.
This is not the defendant you're looking for. The Jedi mind trick. I'm not sure if it worked on the jury, but he did definitely plant that seed of innocence, which should exist.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to send you to the jury for room for a break while I discuss scheduling with everyone. Please do not discuss the case. As I mentioned to you earlier, you're not allowed to discuss the case at all until you've heard the entire case and you've heard the instructions of law. So please go to the jury room.
Okay, the cracks in the wall behind the judge are already irritating me. Can somebody go there with some caulk and just clean that up a little bit? What do you guys think? Opening statements. First of all, we're on the air still, at least as far as I can tell. Sharon, I don't know the judge's name. I'm going to have to look it up. But I like his style. I like listening to him. He's easy to listen to. Let's see. Harpootlian. He is a senator, right? Is he a state senator or the name doesn't ring a bell, so I think he's a state senator. Mac, is running dogs is outlawed in Western North Carolina?
Do you have a witness?
Because they do it in my part of
today?
North Carolina. I've never done it.
Your Honor, I think as we have talked to your law clerk, we do have a witness. Unfortunately, that witness, the main point of that witness would be the body-worn camera, as he is a first responder that arrived at the scene. Unfortunately, the audio does not appear to be working, so I'm informed, despite efforts of courtroom staff and even our IT folks to try to get it going. I've been also told that the company that installed this for the court is not here, and they've been able to do this. So, unfortunately, given the lateness of the hour, which
looks like I have to drive down there and
finish
fix it
him
for him.
anyway, because the video in and of itself is fairly long.
At 9:30 tomorrow morning, and they still haven't done whatever you just said.
I will personally come up with a solution to present evidence to this jury, but I think, I don't even think we could really get him done today anyway if we started, because even the body worn itself is 20, 30 minutes long, depending on which exhibit we put in.
Your Honor, I think this is wise because even if we started right now, I don't think he could get the whole video played. And I'm going to ask, and I'll tell the Attorney General now, we're going to ask him to play the whole video for completeness.
Okay, for the record,
rather than picking out little excerpts. So that may take 45 minutes.
Any objection to that?
We had prepared excerpts. There's a lot of discussion of law enforcement as they're arriving at the scene, and I have theories. But if he wants to play the whole thing, I'm fine with that.
That settles that.
If they have theories, they miif be saying, "Did he do it?" Type
If you'll bring the jury, I'm going to excuse them to 9:30. If they're ready to come in.
Okay, so 9:30 is the same as my time. So that would mean we can start at 9 o'clock tomorrow, assuming the internet's going to behave like it is right now, and we can pick it up tomorrow. I am a little concerned about the audio issue that they're talking about, because if the prosecution says I'm going to have my own solution so the members of the jury can hear the audio from that camera, the problem is he's building another audio system that is not the one that's currently tied into the video. So we might have problems hearing that audio. So that's going to be a challenge. And odds are they're not going to have it. They're not worried as much about the tie-in for the TV broadcast.
Waiting for the jury to get ready to come in.
So that's a concern. Hopefully that won't be a problem tomorrow, and the audio will work for us. I can't leave now. Nope, I'm stuck. Get down there and fix it. I've got the cables. I could fix it. There's not a doubt in my mind I could fix it. Circuit Judge Clifton Newman. Thank you very much, DMB. That's our judge today, Judge Newman. But I'll try to remember that. Okay, and the Richard or Dick A. Harpootlian is an American attorney and a politician serving as a member of the South Carolina Senate from the 20th District. So, yeah, it's like they're very much, it's the good old boy system is at work here on the defense. Everybody you know, everybody you respect, they all say he's a good guy, so you should think he's a good guy too. Little lackluster on the defense. It was a little scatterbrained. Some would say that is by strategy to confuse the jury. You don't want it to all make sense and have the pieces fit together nicely like the prosecution is going to try to tell them it does. Let's see. They have no audio on the body cam. No, they actually have audio on the body cam. The issue they're having in the courtroom is that when they're playing videos, when they've tried to play the videos just to test them, the audio is not working properly in the courtroom. So the judge has told them to fix the audio, get it working by 9:30 tomorrow morning, because that's going to be the first witness is basically a police officer who's going to lay the groundwork for the body cam. The body cam footage will then be played, and that audio is going to be important. Especially for the defense, I think, in this case, because the prosecution, instead of playing the whole thing, they said they had excerpts they want to play. There's probably some police officer talk, just between officers or something, like, hey, what do you think happened here, type of thing. And if there's talk where they say, do you think this Alec guy did it? Or Alex, I'm not sure what we're going to call him today. Alex, I think, is I think I'm not sure if it's spelled with a C or with an X, but anyway, if there's talk on the body cam where they're saying, do you think he did it? Defense is going to jump all over that and say they planned from right there. Everything they saw in this investigation forward, they saw through the lens of he's guilty, and so they gathered evidence that would support that. Has the internet stayed afloat? Barely. We're limping across with a sort of tethered to my phone as well. So I might be out of data tomorrow, but I think the internet's going to work. Judge Darrow or Judge Handsome should have been presiding over this trial. No, I think Judge Newman is going to do a good job. I'm excited about this. I like the judge and I like the prosecutor. I did not like the defense. I'm open to hearing the evidence. Suzanne, we've got a lot of lawyers on both sides, and I wonder just how many we're going to hear from. But it will be it'll be interesting. I think you'll have a variety to pick from, and there might be some defense lawyers that just work better for you than the guy who gave the opening statement. Straighten the clock. Seriously, this whole courtroom, it needs to be soundproof. First of all, who has a courtroom right next to a busy road and you don't put soundproofing in the walls? So every truck that drives by, which apparently they do every 5 minutes, we're going to hear the rumble in the courtroom. Which might be why there are cracks in the walls as well behind that seal. You can see up and down the little bevel mark. It needs some caulk. That's it. Just finish the job. In my head, when he says he didn't do it, I hear the song from, I don't know which one it was. Let's see, the song from, I think the joke would be funnier if I could find the punchline. Just 1 second. Linda, let me find it. All that jazz. She didn't do it. Okay, there it was. Okay. Sorry, Linda. It broke up your comment into two pieces. I had to hunt for the other half. They have the Attorney General on this. That tells you the magnitude. Yes, it's a big case. It is the biggest case I think South Carolina has seen in quite a while. Time to bring in the tire. Yep. We saw the tire in the I was going to say Aaron Dean, but it wasn't him. It was who was the Border Patrol. I can't remember his name. The Border Patrol case we just followed a couple of weeks ago. Wasn't that far ago? Maybe a month ago. That's 8:30 Central. Is it 8:30 Central? I thought they were on my time. I thought they were on Eastern time. Oh, sorry. You're right, Tag. That's exactly what you said. I'm Eastern time, so it would be 8:30 Central, 7:30 Pacific time. Tomorrow, that's when court starts. So we're going to do the 9 o'clock open like we normally do, just to get roll call out of the way and say hello and catch up with each other before that happens. Drive South, it's a song. Check it out on YouTube, John Hyatt. Can't do it on the stream or else they'll zoink me. But recovered, you have a honey-do list for the caulking, the video, and anything else that might end. Yeah, add the clock on there, straighten the clock. We'll have that as well. Are they going to play it all today? Probably not today. I think the jury is going to be brought back in. They're going to be excused for the evening and going to start tomorrow because this first witness is going to be body camera footage. And this is normal to tell the story as the police saw it, as they, how they heard about it. You've got the 911 call, you've got the body camera footage of the officer who first arrives on scene, and this is what they're presented with, and then they, go back and fill in all the details. I wonder how that son Buster feels. Crazy. 7, I don't know. I do know that there's some property deals and some rulings and some other cases going on that I think he just received a settlement of a couple $1 million in something else, a different venture. And we still don't know when the property where the murders were committed, which is up for sale. And I've seen it. One time it's listed for 1,700 acres. Another time it's listed for 1,100. He said 1,100 today, so that might be the correct number. But it is up for sale, and I show that it's, according to my research, that it's under contract. So it would be interesting if this deal goes through and then, all the jury shows up on the new owner's property. It's like, hey, we just want to see where the murders were, But clearly they've got to know that something happened there. This wasn't as exciting as I hoped. It's a beautiful waterfall. It'll get better. Finally, a good case is in the real time zone of Eastern. I like it when it does line up with my schedule because that means I don't have to stay late. Like if it was a California case, I'm like here till 8 o'clock at night. Lots more time to fuss with your internet. Yes, tomorrow the guy's going to come, and I shouldn't have any problems with what I have here. First of all, I want to keep this new modem because it's so much faster than the old one. But let's see, still no motion on the court side. But they need to fix the lines out on the pole and all the way back to wherever the problem is. On the plus side, the clock is accurate. Yes, it's just crooked. Law and Crime is actually showing the crooked clock. If you want to see that right here. That's right there. So you can see what we're talking about. It's just a few degrees, 2 or 3 degrees, just needs a nudge. This is the good old boy system, sunshine and sunflowers. Sorry, that one tripped me up today. Buster is sitting on the defense side. I guess that shows he supports his father. T-Rocks, this is a good point. There are a lot of people sitting on the defense side. There are a lot of people supporting Alex Murdaugh in this trial, supporters of him. So we'll see. Baffle them with BS. I bet that's a musty-smelling courtroom. The walls are cracking from damp weather. Let's see. Call your ISP and fix the sound. I just want him to fix the internet. We can take care of everything else. Judge is back. Let's listen in here.
You can bring the jury in.
Laura, what are you in trouble for? Did you do something naughty? I don't think you're in trouble. I just might be missing comments. I'm being very careful with everything, trying to keep the internet up and not crashing. It's working right now, so we're just holding our breath. Yes, I will build tonight. I'll build a placeholder for tomorrow's show. It'll be 9 a.m. A similar thumbnail to what we have right now. Michelle, does he have other charges? Yes, he has all the charges financially related. Just tons and tons of charges. He was stealing from his law firm. He was stealing from his clients. He was stealing from anyone who had money that he could get close enough to. And he has charges for all of them, like 106 charges for, they add up to tens of millions.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We are through for the day. We're going to recess till 9:30 tomorrow morning. 30. Remember the oath that you took and the instructions that you're not to discuss the case with anyone. You're not to engage in any search for further details through any means. And we need you back at 9:30 tomorrow morning, following the instructions given to you by the bailiffs as to where to report to. You'll never come through the courtroom to get to the jury room. And we'll see you at 9:30 tomorrow morning. You may go.
That was a very quiet. You
We're in
may
recess
go.
as to the jury.
Get up and leave. Guys,
Go.
out. You go home now. You be here 4 hours. Okay. That is funny. That was a very weak dismissal there. So the Windows is the soundproofing. I think you're right on that, DMB. Faces hundreds of other counts in his financial crimes. Yeah, and that's. I think the prosecution is going to try to get that in as the motive. I think there's going to be some talk about that. There's no way they can address this case and not talk about everything else that was happening in his life. Fix your clock today. Let's see what we've got. Any other business here outside the presence of the jury?
Just a couple of things with regard to the
that was his name. Ortiz.
Daily transcript. Is that what is the problem? Is that system? Can someone tell me? Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. Well, this transcript is not an official transcript. It's not the official court reporters are the two South Carolina judicial branch employees and not the company that produces this transcript that those in the media or the parties may be interested in purchasing. Want the parties to acknowledge that they understand that any transcript produced by anyone other than the court reporters is not a verified true copy transcript.
Your Honor, we understand that. Absolutely. Both of us, though, have a concern that this microphone, and we've expressed, if it's picked up conversations between us and our client, or we're concerned that not appear in the daily transcript.
All right, and the transcript, that microphone is by the same outfit? Whose microphone is it?
We're told when that clock in front of you is on, it's on, right?
Yes. That microphone, the microphone on the AG's table, the microphone in front of the clerk's bench, and the microphone you are speaking into that has the mute button, those are FTR, or the record microphones. That's what's giving you the daily transcripts. And it is also tied to the PA system.
So I don't really care about the daily transcripts. My problem is that we can't get audio in the courtroom, and that's what we're going to try to fix tonight.
Well, we're talking about one thing right now.
Yes, sir.
So with regard to the
Okay, that might be a nothing burger.
Transcript, the non-official, and is that where the problem is now with that you all have been working on, or is that now been resolved with that company?
The problem with FTR transcripts, the daily transcripts. That is working fine. When we had to move some of the equipment around earlier, it messed up some of the wiring.
For the audio?
Yes, sir.
All right. And is that what you're working on, said you'll be working on overnight or something?
Yes, sir. We're going to come up with a solution that's independent of any of the court-provided facilities, and we'll come up with something. I'll go home and get a guitar amplifier if I need to. But yeah, we'll get something done.
This guy has no idea. Don't get a guitar amplifier.
Is there anything
Please
else
do
before
not
we
get a
break
guitar
for the
amplifier.
day?
None from the state, Your Honor.
Nothing for the defense. 9:30. Am I correct about that?
9:30.
Yes, sir.
All right, court will be in recess till 9:30.
Okay, that's about it right there. Let's see what happens here. The audio's shut off. Lots of big names. Look at him. He's turning around. He's talking to people. These are supporters that are behind him. He's got a lot of supporters. Probably talking to his son a little bit right there. Interesting. He has a lot of support, and that's something that the jury's going to see. They're going to see all these people behind him. That the defense has already pointed out that he basically has family, he has supporters here in the courtroom. Look at these, like, oh, hang on one second, I need to talk to somebody. Wait, bailiffs, don't lock me up yet. I've got some business to do, and they are treating him probably better than any other suspect gets treated. Typically, as soon as the judge is done, I don't know what just went in the pocket. As soon as the judge is done, he should be pretty much out of there. But he's gonna get some time to put things together and gather up his stuff and say his goodbyes. The bailiff said, "What did you just put in your pocket?" "Yeah, that's what I wanted to know." "What was it?" "Yeah, you can't have that. You can't take." Open it. "Good job, bailiff. What is it? What is it?" He said, "Never mind. I'll leave it there." "Good eye, bailiff. Good job." We might have, it was almost like a young thug moment there. My best joy some days is making a recovery addict giggle. CG, some of the stuff you send is pretty hilarious. Did we fix the internet yet? No, I've hobbled it together with some duct tape, and that's what we're writing with right now. Let's see. Laura did all the things. She's in all kinds of trouble. Laura, I apologize if I missed any of your chats. I'm super nervous about the stream going down. I'm watching a million things on my side, just trying to make sure we have a feed that's watchable for you guys. Don't want you to have to go anywhere else. But let's see. Stealing to finances gun addiction. 106 charges. Yes, quite a few, and possibly growing. I don't think that's done. Yes, we have the chandelier back again. Unofficial transcript. I think when he says "for the record," I think they're talking about like a commercial company called For the Record. Like if you search it "For the Record," they make a unofficial transcript. They're also a media outlet, and I believe they just do microphone and audio. So they have their For the Record side, and so there's a little concern there with the defense specifically saying, "Hey, I'm worried that it's going to pick up our conversation between us as lawyers and our client." But oops, there we go. Anyway, let's see what we have here. Looks like Tic Tacs could have been. Is he in custody? Yes, he is. He has been since, I believe, September of 2021. Right? Is that the right year? Basically, when he was charged, I think he's been in custody. Has not been out. That's my understanding. Yeah, turn off the mic. You've got the mute button, right? You've got the power right there, and hopefully they have a light on there as well to tell them when it's recording and when it's not. The courtroom is 1,000 years old. It is a little archaic. They tried turning it off and on again. That usually fixes it. Reverse the polarity, right? That'll work. They need you to sort it. Hey, I could. I've done consulting for people like that before. So he's not out on bail. He's in custody right now. I believe they're I'll have to check. Either it's a really super high bail amount that's cash only or no bail. I don't remember. Marshall amp set to 11. Turn the volume all the way up. That'll work. With some distortion on there too, just for good measure. A guitar amp will sound like a potato with a bullhorn in that room. It'll be awful. It'll be so bad. And it's not the same. It's not the same. The tones you use for your voice, for speaking, are not the same that a guitar amp plays. They're not built for that. We need the Geek Squad pronto. Somebody needs to get down there and plug things back in. The redhead is his son, AJ. That's Buster, who may be a millionaire as of this week, if he wasn't already. He probably will have handcuffs on. I'm not sure if they will. You'll be able to see on social media a lot of the reporters that are following this down in the court down in South Carolina. They're filming him enter and exit the courtroom as he gets in the van and gets the ride back to the. Whoa, sorry about that. Yeah, so that's something called bars and tone, and that was just the tone. That's what a camera sends to the control room just to make sure you've got a good signal coming through. They were interesting openings. Opening up from prosecution was short, but done very well. A little too much preacher in the opening for me, and not enough, story building. But you can't just all use volume to tell your story. But if he's in custody, he should not be able to talk to folks. Yeah, I think he's getting some preferential treatment. Nancy, I don't want to be late in the morning. Yeah, set your alarm, Nancy. We're going to start 9 a.m. Eastern time. It's going to be great. Let's see if you have any more questions here. They're all on his payroll. I'm glad the bailiff checked what was in his pocket. Just trying to answer any questions you guys have. I'm skipping for the ones that flagged me in it because there's so much that's happened in chat here. Sorry. So happy today was almost a complete success. I'm going to count it as a win, Samantha. I really am. The fact that we're still here and able to get mostly through, it was great. I think the judge was making it known transcripts of the televised trial are unofficial. So, for example, CC on televised streamed versions are not the same as court reporter created. Right. But that was the judge's emphasis. The attorneys were concerned that unofficial transcript might have them talking to Alex or them conferring amongst themselves. But they need to work that mute button. That's their responsibility. Don't put it all on the company who's just picking up the sound. It's important to make clear that despite the 106 financial charges, he only faces 4 counts in this trial here. 2 murder charges and 2 weapons charges. Lindsay, you're correct. And we don't know how much, because those other charges, for the most part, I believe are pending. He hasn't been convicted on them. We don't know how much of that is going to be brought in, how much of that information will be out there. I'm pretty sure they're not going to say he has 106 charges plus, whatever. $7 million bail. Is that all? So, is cash all right, or did you take a check? Yeah. AJ says time for a glass of wine. Bring in the CNN crew. I'm sure they're willing. Yeah. As far as cameras go, this is a good setup. This is a good trial. This isn't like the Pike family murder thing, where the audio was awful and we had one potato camera, just that was always staring at the wall. This is watchable. We've got good audio so far. Hopefully we'll have good audio for the video presentations as well. I'll fall on the floor if a contractor shows up and fixes the plaster. Yeah, it's not going to happen. Who said this? What's next on the ISP front? Richard, we've got tech coming tomorrow. I've talked with the escalation team. I've shared log information that shows that the issue is their line outside my house, not my house. And so they're saying that the tech will come and they'll work the line back until they find the problem. And so I'll see it when I believe it, I guess. I'll believe it when I see it, one of the two. But hopefully it'll be at least fixed. There might be some things they can do. I did take the attenuator off the line, and it's working a little bit better that way, but it's still not good. I'm still getting those error messages. All right, let's go ahead and wrap up. Well, it's still live, okay, because you never know how long this is going to last. That's not him. That's not the right video either, or not the right audio either. So There we go. Thank you guys so much. So glad I could be with you this afternoon. We're looking forward to tomorrow. We have a lot of awesome things going on in the Murdaugh case. I'll just see if I can go full screen that way. It's going to be fun. I'm really excited for this one. There's so much to go into. There's so much background. There's so much intrigue and connections and influence and power and money at play that this will be a fun one to watch. Watch it unfold. It'll be great. It is going to be a little gruesome, as you heard in the opening, so just be prepared for that. There might be some days you might have to skip out if that's something that you don't want to hear, but I'll be here for it. We'll see how it goes. So they listened to me. Yes, of course they did. Richard, thank you. Let's see, we're all good. I want to give one more shout out here at the end of the stream. Now that I'm full screen, I'll bring it right back here. It focuses right here. This is from Creative B. The Creative B. This is Debbie. She sent me my very first YouTube plaque. It says, Recovery Addicts, congratulations for surpassing 5,000 subscribers. And it's incredible. It looks amazing. I don't think there could be another plaque that I would be more proud of than this one. But thank you so much. Please give her some love. Go check her out at her store on Etsy. If there's anything you need that she does, consider shopping there first. She's a great supporter of the channel, and this means the world to me. You guys are amazing. You're so kind. You're all amazing. So please, tonight, hug the people you love, smile at somebody, make their day just a little bit better. And until we go live tomorrow, without any buffering at all, please stay safe. Have a great evening, guys. We'll see you.